Oh my goodness. The last bastion of American Valorant is gone. G2 just got eliminated. And honestly, it's really just disappointing. I mean, the last 2 days, which have been, sort of the days that I've really been trying to stay up and watching the games, have gone in a pretty lackluster manner. Like, I'm rooting for G2 to win, I'm rooting for 100 Thieves to win, and it's like they accomplished basically like nothing against Gen.G and Team Heretics. I'll get to the both of those teams in a bit, but I just kind of want to talk about G2 for a minute because they're a team that, while not many people expected to do well, and to be fair, that criticism was valid as they had not really accomplished anything from the kickoff stage. But I think it's important to know that it seemed like every time that they played, they would just gradually get better. And then, I mean, they did manage to qualify on week 5 of VCT Americas by basically winning out statistically and making it into playoffs. But even then, like, a lot of people still doubted the team because they did get in on a technicality, but they still proved that they got better and better each time. They didn't win against 100 Thieves on either of their matches, which kind of, devalued their stock a bit when it came to going to Shanghai. And even then, going to Shanghai, it seemed like this, again, was a team that most people were thinking wasn't going to make it out of the group stage, just because they kind of lack firepower or like a clear like identity of what this team was or is. I mean, it's not like they're disbanded or anything. But I still think that they gradually got better, and they even beat like Heretics. To be fair though, like, they did have a stand-in, and like, you can tell by the games that, they still hadn't quite found their groove with that composition of 5 guys. So the fact that they did beat them in the group stage twice, not quite as impressive as what they would do later on in the tournament. Now, when they exited the playoffs, they did end up playing against Patitek, and wow, I mean, I was impressed. My stonks were all on G2 basically. I was ready to put it in. It's like, yes, G2, they might win it. And then, totally not Valorant related, but like on this side of the world, I should say, we had the IAM Dallas event, and that's a CS event. And I don't really watch CS all that much, but I heard that like Stewie 2K was playing as a stand-in for G2, and all of a sudden it seemed like all of like NA or North America was behind Stewie 2K and like his journey to like win the IEM Dallas event. And lo and behold, last week they did it. They won IEM Dallas, and it was a real feel-good story. But to everyone who was watching Valorant as well, it felt like the stars were sort of like aligning for like a G2 like attack shooter like sweep. So both Valorant and CS was going to be taken over by G2. But I don't think that's how things particularly like panned out. I mean, yeah, we saw them beat Patitek, we saw them qualify for the Mercedes-Benz Arena, but unfortunately it seemed like the team just kind of fell off a cliff. And it's so bizarre because it's like, you're rooting for this team and they look good and they look solid, and it seems like their mentals are kind of carrying them over the finish line, whereas like I'm just going to use Patitek as an example. When Patitek starts feeling the pressure from a team that not even is better than them, but a team that has like momentum going for them, it's like Patitek seem to like crumble under that pressure. But with G2, at least up to the point of like the last 2 days, I felt like G2 was really good at just making comebacks. And everyone was saying like, oh, like they dropped the first map and then they kind of reverse sweep the rest of the game. And I was waiting for that moment, and it just never happened. Icy, I think Icy's leveled up his gameplay. I think he's much better than he was when he started VCT Americas. and I can commend him for like just being a solid performer. JonahP, oh my goodness, you know, I knew who JonahP was before. I knew he was, you know, fairly decent, but man, now it's like dude has some clutch moments, and dude, like, he is incredibly talented. Trent, I mean, I didn't, the last 2 days, the days that I've actually been like watching live, I just haven't seen like that it factor from him, and it just was sorely missed. And I know it was there because a lot of the group stage, like, everyone was kind of like popping off at some point. As far as like Valyn and the rest of the guys, I mean, Valyn, I mean, the fact that he was carrying his team back in like reverse sweeps and stuff like that is just like so damn impressive. And yeah, they couldn't beat Gen.G and they couldn't beat like Team Heretics in these like cases, but I still think they made it quite farther than I think anybody ever expected. The fact that they made it up to top 3 is insane in my opinion. And even then, I still think that this team has a lot of room to grow. It's not like it's the end of like the journey for G2, or in some sense, it is kind of like the end of their like miracle run. And we did talk about this on Exit Frag, that, you know, sometimes it does feel like they're lucky. Other times it feels like, yeah, it's their skill that's kind of carrying them through it. But for the most part of the tournament, it felt like it was their mentals that were getting them through games. And it just felt like at no point in the last 2 days were they able to like gather themselves together and like make a comeback. Like the skill differential of Gen.G was just like way too apparent. And my goodness, that match with Heretics and 100 Thieves, like, you know, sometimes you think, oh, the momentum can just die off between one day and the next. No, Heretics were on one yesterday, and you know, it was pretty crazy. This is the last day of Shanghai, and I think I'm pretty excited for it. I'm pretty excited for this grand final. I think Heretics is a team that I've been following in EMEA because, you know, I try to keep up, and a lot of the times I find myself watching their games. And I mean, my goodness, like, they've been swapping players out like pretty much the entire season, and they've found like a groove like no other. And it's like, it's amazing to see like such a group of like young people like take the meta, the game by storm. And it's not even that, like, even like coming up in the next meta, which is going to rumoredly be like the Neon meta, considering all her buffs. I think they're still going to be in like really good standing because Miniboo is probably the best Neon player like before the buffs, so now he's going to be even crazier, I think. As far as Gen.G, I think I've said it multiple times how big of a fan I am of like Meteor, specifically, and just like all the like rough teams he had to like be a part of. Like Northception was one of the biggest disappointments in like Japanese Valorant. Even though some of the team members on there were not Japanese. And then Gen.G had gone through like just a really rough patch last year. And I'm glad that the org decided to side with the coaching staff and kept Meteor. Because, my goodness, like the complete reinvention of this team and the ability to scout the talent that, you know, no one really was paying attention to, like, it's super commendable. And I won't get much further into it because, you know, this is discussions we can have about tomorrow when I do the congratulations for Gen.G or Team Heretics, whichever ends up winning. But for now, it really sucks that G2 ended up choking. There's nothing to sing except for praises because, again, no one expected them to get here. Congratulations, G2. You did make some of us proud.